G'day, gang. If you're watching this, it means I'm probably still in recovery, but you're still getting an episode. Lucky you. This was another test episode we recorded during the COVID pandemic, and a lot of movies weren't coming to theaters, so we made our predictions and guesses based on trailers and how these movies would go. This is our first episode recorded with Jesse, so that's pretty cool. And so yeah, you'll notice some things look a little different in the video version. That's because we're still figuring things out. Anyways, we hope to be back soon recording brand new episodes. In the meantime, enjoy. On this upcoming attractions, it's more movies that we can't see in the cinema because of the Sydney lockdown in September 2021. We'll be covering Malignant, The Card Counter, Copshop, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, plus more. All this and more on upcoming attractions. Welcome back to another episode of Upcoming Attractions. I'm your host, Matt Vella. And this is another weird little test episode. Not sure if you'll see this. I'm hoping you do. But it's probably not going to be very relevant. Why? Because we're in the Sydney lockdown here in September 2021. So there's going to be a whole bunch of movies that we can't see, that are going to come straight to cinema, and we're going to miss out. It sucks. But today we're going to talk about our expectations, our predictions, our excitement for these movies. If we forget to mention a movie, it's probably because it got moved back on the schedule, or maybe it's coming to like Netflix or something so we can see it, or maybe I'm just an idiot and I forgot to cover it. It's all possible here. But I'm not going to do this alone. Of course not. With me today is my co-host. She is a photographer, actress, and a great drinking buddy of mine, Adrianne and Jesse. How are you doing?
Hey guys, I'm so good, Matt. How are you? I'm
splendid. And also, right off the trail of trying to get his camera to work, he's an author, journalist, and your friend and mine, Jesse Highland. How are we doing, man?
What's going on, guys? What's happening, Matt? Thanks for having me on.
Oh, thank you. Well, we'll be doing many more of these, I'm sure. That was my first time, guys, introducing co-hosts. So good on me. We're off to a good start.
C plus.
Yeah, thank you.
C plus.
Cool. So yeah, like I said, the point of this episode is we're going to be covering some of the big movies that are coming to cinema for everyone else except for us because we're stuck in lockdown. That's right. Yeah. Look, I think let's end on Shang-Chi because it was shot in Western Sydney where we are. But let's start off with Malignant, a new film by James Wan. Very excited about this one. Let's kick things off with Jesse. Jesse, looking at the trailer, do you have any expectations for this? What are your overall thoughts? What's your biggest takeaway? Lay it on me, brother.
Well, when you first watched it, I kind of felt like it looked very similar to James Wan's other horror films, like The Conjuring and Insidious and those kind of ones. Sort of like that mainstream horror kind of vibe. It's going to get a big return and whatnot. But I have heard that the movie's actually very different to those kind of mainstream horror movies that he does that are usually very well made, but they're very, tailored to a wide audience. So I've heard this one's very different and just very unique, I guess, off the cut. What's your
vibe with like the previous Conjuring and Insidious movies? Have you seen many of them? How do you feel about them? I'm guessing you're not the biggest fan for what I'm hearing here.
I've seen Conjuring 1 and 3. I haven't seen 2. But I think 80 said 2 is the best, didn't you? I can't remember. When you the one that said 2 was the best? I don't remember. I liked 1. Like
me, so they worked. They did what they set out to do.
Well, I don't get scared. So I like movies just don't scare me because I'm just so desensitized by them. But
he's just that much of a tough bloke. Oh, I'm not scared of movies. Fuck Freddy Krueger, man.
I like beer and sports. Conjuring 1 was good.
The Conjuring actually
Conjuring
made me
Mum's-
cry, and I'm not even lying. Like, it
Really?
scared me that much. Yeah, there's a story there, but I will let you continue.
No, before you do, I think just to set the pace for everyone who knows, Adrianne is probably the most scared of horror movies I've ever seen. I will never get over the fact a bunch of us, as a big group of us, maybe 10 of us, went to see A Quiet Place Part 1, and Ada just happened to be sitting next to me, and I've never seen a human being do this. Did not know it was physically possible, but at one point she jumped, but she jumped so high that she like went into the fetal position in one movement. Like her legs left the ground, went onto the seat, and she was holding herself. And I was like, how is that even physically possible? This is some Looney Tunes shit. And the movie was ruined for me because I spent the rest of the movie laughing at her.
Yeah, I've become some sort of like a spectacle. I've thrown water on my friends. I got banned from holding the popcorn at one point in my last relationship because we had a large and they're expensive. And oh my god, it was the opening scene, one of the scenes in Annabelle when it's pure silence and all you see is like blood splatter on the window. There's no noise.
Oh my God.
When the blood splattered, I threw all of the popcorn on the floor.
Wow. Yeah. So 80 might be a bit biased when it comes to horror films.
A little bit.
Yeah. Sorry. Back to you, Jesse. Sorry to interrupt you there, man. Just the world needed to know that.
No, that's all right. I liked the first Conjuring. I thought the third one was okay. Like, it wasn't, but I know, James Wan didn't have he didn't direct that
produced
or write it, but
James Wan's
he only produced that one.
He did, I think, Conjuring 1 and 2, Insidious 1 and 2. I like to lump Conjuring and Insidious because they're both demon horror movies.
And he did Lights Out as well.
No, he didn't do Lights Out. Did he?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he did.
Maybe he produced. Okay. Google,
IMDb that.
Check it. I don't believe
Pretty
that.
sure he did. I think he may have written and produced. But he still did. Like, it's still like one of his
okay.
babies.
No, he was producer. He was producer. He did produce it. Okay.
Yeah.
Look, technically he also produced Mortal Kombat, but I don't count that as a horror film.
Nah.
Just on the horror side.
Yeah, but look, he does produce a lot of horror films. But my point is, from the Conjuring universe, there are a lot of spin-offs that he's pretty much just executive producer on. I'm talking like The Nun, most, if not all, the Annabelle movies.
Well, they slap his name on everything.
They do. He's like they're starting to do the same with Jordan Peele now as well. But they slap James Wan's name on literally anything they can with horror, and rightly so. Like, you know, the guy made Saw, which is one of the most iconic horror films of the last decade. He's also an Aussie, so like I'm a little bit biased. I'm always rooting for the Aussie. But
me too.
I'm like you, man. Like I think a lot of the spin-offs of The Conjuring kind of suck. Like The Nun is probably the most bored I've been in cinema in a long time.
I remember you talking to me about watching that. You said how trash it was. I haven't even seen it.
Bro, okay, so you know how like one of the worst things a film could do is at the end they wake up and it's like, oh, it was all a dream.
No.
Well,
no,
they
I
don't
hate
do
that.
that. They don't do that, but they do the next thing, which is so close to that, where the entire second act is a hallucination. So,
my god,
they do a bunch of stuff, a bunch of people die, and then like she wakes up, and then the rest of the movie continues. Like the last 20 to 30 minutes didn't happen. And it's like, so what am I doing here? I'm just wasting my time. Like none of that contributed to the story. And that got me mad. But again, like you can't blame James Wan. He didn't really do much on that.
He was not the one who decided that.
He wasn't the one. He was probably directing Aquaman or something at the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, Adrianne, do you think you'll see this when it comes out?
Yes. I said earlier I was avoiding this trailer like the plague because I'd heard really good things. And I thought I wanted to go into it completely blindly. But because we're going to talk about it, I caved and I watched it. And I am actually incredibly intrigued. I know that I do get really scared, like quite easily, especially with jump scares. But that's sort of part of like the fun of it in a way. And Insidious is probably one of the most scariest things I've ever seen. I didn't sleep properly for a while after I watched it. Anything with possession, that really freaks me out, like more than anything else for some reason. And I could see his, like, I think the cinematographer is the same as Conjuring, as well as the Insidious movies. Oh my god, and the composer is the same as well. Oh my god, Joseph Bashara. Whenever I hear those violins,
someone did their research.
I'm already, my skin is crawling. But the story, I watched an interview with James Wan, and he said that he feels like audiences have been starved of a really original take on horror for a while. And he has purposefully taken that into account in making this film. So I'm pretty excited. I really enjoy it. I think this story is going to be really good.
I think that's an interesting point you bring up. Although I am going to call it a little bit BS to my boy James, because I love him, don't get me wrong, but like, dude, you're part of the problem. Like, I think a lot of the spin-offs of The Conjuring, which is probably like a good 20, 30, maybe even 40% of the horror films we get nowadays, they're all like from the same, like the same cookie cutter the manufacturing line, you know? And I'm going to be honest, like, I'll be honest though, like, demonic possession for me is my least favorite type of horror film. Except maybe found footage. I know. When found footage is done right, it's great, but it's rarely done right. But for me, it's like, I like it when there's an actual antagonist, a villain I can see it's better. And so for Conjuring 3, the devil made me do it. I know it's the worst of the Conjuring films, but I like the fact that there was an actual, like, human... Like
a tangible villain?
Yeah, they were tangible. They were a real thing. And maybe that's because, like, I've been programmed by Hollywood with the average blockbuster. It has to be the bad guy with the scary face or whatever.
Yeah.
But that makes it more, like, I don't know.
Real
It's something...
you?
Yeah, I can hold on to that.
Yeah.
I can see that. What I love...
I'm the opposite of you.
Oh, really?
In that way. If I don't know what it is, if I don't understand what that entity is, it scares me 50 times more.
Look, it's probably scarier, but I think from what I enjoy, like, I love my Jasons, I love my Freddys. I want another iconic character like that. That's why I'm so excited.
They're doing another Friday, aren't they? They're doing another Friday the 13th, aren't they?
They've been talking about it for a while. I don't know if there's any movement on that. I'm actually from a weird perspective where the remakes of Friday and Nightmare on Elm Street and the Michael Bay produced ones, I thought they were both all right. Like, I didn't mind the supernatural dude in The Last Friday, but, you know, audiences seem to disagree. We got Halloween for now, though, doing well, so that's all right.
Yeah.
One thing I did find... I was just going to say, the one thing I did find interesting about this movie is that he's actually written, like, James Wan's actually written this movie with his wife. He just got married or something recently, and she's like an actress.
Yeah, that's right.
I think she's from Romania or something like that, or...
She's only got like one or two other writing credits, but she teamed up with him on this one. That wasn't even intentional.
We're going to have so many of those puns, unintentional puns.
I know. I'm keen. I'm really keen for this. I think he put a lot of passion into this movie.
Well, what I love about
I love the poster. The poster looks sick.
Poster is so cool with the thing going towards the eye. My biggest takeaway for Malignant and why I'm really excited is it feels a little bit like a return to form for James Wan visually. So for fans of him, like, they'll know, like, his old, like, the Saw movies, the first few especially, they had this, you could tell he came from, like, some sort of, like, nu metal gothic music video background, because they would have weird editing effects. It was like a Kendrick Lamar music video. Yeah, or a Slipknot or something where, like, it's like, how weird can we get? And they'll just randomly fuck with the speeds. They'll, like, do random 360 shots. They'll have weird flashes. They'll do all sorts of weird stuff.
It's just uncomfortable. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just really bizarre editing choices. And I recently, to prepare myself for Spiral, I rewatched all the Saw movies. And it was interesting to see, like, the ones he did.
That's dedication.
They use that all the way throughout, don't they? Like, all those same...
Well, yeah, like, these later directors...
editing techniques and stuff.
Yeah, these later editing, like, directing stuff are trying to, like, emulate his style.
Just kept using it.
And, eventually, like, they do start modernizing it a bit. but like it really sticks out like a sore thumb. The first two feel really outdated the way they're edited. They're still great movies. I still really love the first two, but they really do feel a bit weird. But I love to see whenever he goes back into that weird stuff. He does like you watch something like Aquaman, right? Which is a by the numbers Hollywood blockbuster. But James Wan, the way he directed Aquaman, he was like, okay, everyone takes superheroes seriously now, or like he's like, I'm just gonna make it as campy as possible. And Aquaman like is the corniest, campiest superhero movie out there. And at times, like it's really 90s. It's got this 90s energy to it. And it weirdly works. Like they'll randomly slow-mo things that shouldn't be slow-moed. They'll like there's like this one scene where you first see Aquaman like be a badass. There's like this like heavy metal guitars which seem so like no fucking movie would do that these days. But I love how this like stylized. It did, and I think it's because he owns it so much. And what we're seeing in this trailer, obviously a very different movie, but he's not afraid to just try new weird shit. Like there's that amazing shot where it's sort of going 360, but the background's changing and stuff. It's that's what I like to see from a director who has a voice and they work on their style. And like this sort of stuff was missing from the Insidious films. Although they did have their own type of style to them. The Conjuring films were very, I don't know, they felt very periodical, and that's not really my vibe. I love seeing this weirdness about him coming back in this.
Yeah, I agree.
This new setting. So I'm on board. I'll always root for him because he's an Aussie. Anyone else have any other anything else they want to say about this before we move on?
Yes. Oh, sorry, Jesse. I'm sorry.
No, you go. You go.
You beat him.
The only thing I hope that doesn't happen in it is the overuse of CGI. Like too much in a horror movie for me will kill the vibe. So
that's fair.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
Horror is all about building the atmosphere and stuff, and if they ruin it, then that makes sense.
Yeah.
I just was to say I've heard it's very it references a lot of I think Italian horror from like the 70s and stuff like that, and a lot of body horror, and I think it's going to be more practical than was going to be as practical as they can make it from what I've heard. So I'm very very keen to check it out. So
that's interesting to hear they're going to reference like Italian horror and that old school stuff. I don't know that's
they're just like the style choices and stuff like that. So
I will say friend of the show or mutual friend of ours, Daryl, has seen this, and he compared it to Mother, which is a movie I personally dislike. I know it really split
I wasn't a huge fan of Mother either.
But I imagine but that is also a very weird film.
But he loved that movie.
Yeah,
I remember he loved that movie.
I don't know many people who love that. Like I know a few people who like it, but I don't know anyone who loves it as much as him. But maybe like it's the weirdness, or I don't know. We'll have to ask him after the show. But hopefully we'll get to see this as soon as possible because I'm anything by James. I'm day one for. But let's move on, shall we? Let's move on to what we've got next. The card counter. Jesse, I know you were particularly excited about this one. What do you reckon of the card counter?
Well, it looks very, very interesting. It's got Oscar Isaac, who's always fantastic. Always love anything he's done. It's got Tiffany Haddish, which is really weird because you usually see her with like comedic type roles, but she's doing like a serious role here. And it's written and directed by, I think his name's Paul Schrader. He did Taxi Driver and Raging Bull. And then for a very long time, he did movies that no one saw. And then he did one with Ethan Hawke. I can't remember. It was like, I think it was called like First Reformed or something like that. They got a pretty decent reception.
There we go. First Reformed,
and this one looks
2017. There we go.
Yeah, and this one looks pretty good. It's more up my alley, more sort of gritty. I don't know. It just looks very, very interesting. It's got a certain crime element to it.
Can I ask?
And there just seems to be a lot going on.
Do either of you? I could probably easily Google this, but the trailer first opens with from Martin Scorsese, but from what I can see, he's not writer, he's not director. That's both Paul Schrader.
I
What's his?
I think that's
attachment?
another name slap.
Oh,
I think that's
yeah.
I think he
Is he
might
producing?
he might be an executive producer, but he's not hands on.
Yeah.
Like he's not intimately involved
Right.
in
But-
this film.
Yeah, I gotta say,
Probably like, yeah, we gotta sell this movie. Slap Scorsese's
They're
name on
probably
there.
like old mates or something, and he was like, "Hey Martin,
Yeah,
hey,
he's
hey Marty."
executive producer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
executive producer is a really interesting role, and I usually try not to judge a movie by that because it could mean so many things. Like, don't forget, Christopher Nolan was executive producer on Batman v Superman, and I'm pretty sure he literally did nothing. I know for Man of Steel, like I think there was at least one meeting he had where he pitched some ideas, but they'll slap a name when they can.
They will. I mean, they just like secure funding and stuff. So I think to a degree, I think it's either like they do believe in your vision enough that they're willing to help you do that, or maybe they are just mates, or they're just like,
You never
Well, it'd be
know.
pretty tight because they both did Taxi Driver and
yeah,
Raging Bull. So
It could be so many things. Like sometimes,
So
like
many.
they could be really hands on, but you never know. But look, Paul Schrader, like you said, Taxi Driver. That's nothing to scoff at. That's a big deal. You raised the
Yeah.
point that was my biggest takeaway was what is Tiffany Haddish doing in this movie? like I'm not
she's
saying
like a love interest.
she's extending her acting chops, Matthew.
yeah, like I was like I never thought I'd see her and Oscar Isaac in a scene together. I'm not saying she'll be bad.
It's very
just-
random.
It's so out of her wheelhouse, but this is a chance for her to prove herself. Like this could take her to the next level. So, shout outs to her. Good luck. Yeah, 80. What do you think of this trailer? I know we've sort of darted around it.
As soon as I heard or I read that he had also done Taxi Driver and Raging Bull, the first thing that came into my head was it was going to be stylized, sort of like Taxi Driver meets 21. Do you remember that movie about the gambling ring from the university based on a true story? It came out in the early 2000s.
I gotta be honest, a lot of the gambling type or heist movies, anything in Vegas, they all mesh together to me. Like
They do to me as well. I will watch it purely for Oscar because I do love him a lot too. And I don't know, I just think he's magnetic on screen. But this, like, we're gonna fool the casino, that has been done like so many times. So it'll just be interesting to see it in a bit of a grittier way than the usual, like, let's slap some comedy in there sort of thing. Like, it could be good.
it's funny how like a story trope like that can become its own genre. Like, like what the hell's a heist movie? It's just like people just kept making movies about heists, and now it's a genre. And there's
Yeah,
like,
it
weird
is. It's its own
tropes
thing.
attached to that. Like,
Sorry, I was just gonna say I found like the casino stuff was like interesting, but I found the prison stuff, like the prison thing, like you got Willem Dafoe there, and
Yeah.
you got Oscar Isaac. There's a part where he's like bleeding or something, and he's looking at some dude, and yeah, I don't know, just a lot of people I was like saying the trailer looked kind of like trashy, but I don't know, it really hooked me, and I thought it was really interesting. So
I think
he did it. No, go on. Sorry.
Oh, I was just speculating here, and I'm really speculating. I think it's because a lot of time when you imagine like a casino or Vegas, you imagine really bright colors and stuff. Well, the palette here, it's very,
It's very Taxi Driver.
yeah, it's very realistic. Like they're not bumping up the saturation to crazy levels. It feels like it's a bit like intentionally drab. Like it makes me. Yeah, like I feel like they're doing something with that, and maybe that's why the thing in trashy. It could also just be the small budget, or I don't know how big the budget is, but I'm imagining it's not like, oh fuck, well, Scorsese's 3-hour Netflix movie,
The Irishman.
It's not The Irishman, they're not spending $1 billion on special effects every 5 seconds. But look, I'm down. I'm really curious about this scene of Oscar Isaac in his hotel room, where like, everything's got like he's wrapped everything in like sheets and stuff.
Oh yeah.
That looks like some shit's gonna go down. It's very Dextery.
Yeah.
I'm keen to see what happens there.
That should be good.
Let's move on, shall we? Next up on our list, it'd be good if I had my list ready to go, wouldn't it? Copshop, new movie starring, off the top of my head, I'm going to say Gerard Butler and Frank. What's his name? Fucking Frank.
Grillo.
Gorillo?
Grillo.
Yeah. Man,
Grillo.
Say it again.
Grillo.
Say
like
it again.
Grillo.
Spell it one more time. No, I'm kidding.
Grillo, Matthew. Grillo.
One thing, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't learned already, I am terrible with names. I fuck up everybody's name. I can barely say my own name. So prepare yourselves for that. Look, I love Frank. Say it. Frank.
Grillo.
Grillo. Old mate grilling the barbecue.
Just call him Frank like he's your friend.
Yeah,
like he's your buddy.
Frank Castle. No.
Like you're both going to the pub after dinner at 8 p.m. on a Saturday night.
Uncle Frank and I just chilling. No. Look, I love him. He's a badass in everything. But before we get to this trailer, I just want to say, old mate Gerard Butler, he has not had a good run the last few years. I know I recently, just moments ago, were talking shit in the Nun, but I'll talk some more shit on Angel Has Fallen. Is probably the most bored I've ever been in seeing an action movie in theaters. It has probably
it.
Oh, it's probably got the worst, like the most boring car chase I've ever seen. It's like, it feels like 20 minutes of, here's a car, here's another car as they go on a straight line. And it's like, turn a corner? Are they going to turn a corner? Are they going to do anything? And it sucks because Olympus Has Fallen is fucking incredible. London Has Fallen has a really great action scene. Not the best movie, but a really great scene. And Angel Has Fallen, it's like, they have a $2.50 budget. They don't really have much to work with. And Gerard Butler, man, like he did 300. 300 was like, I think, such an influential movie that's so underrated. I know it's a little Monster Energy drink energy to it, but I wish he was in more good stuff. But this might be the most interested I've been in a trailer for an upcoming movie of his I've seen in a while. I'm not saying it's going to be great. I'm just saying he might be on an uptick, I'm hoping, this one. What do you guys think of this one? I'll start with
agree.
Start with you, 80. What do you reckon?
I fully agree. I'm super hyped for this. I love these like one setting, straight down the line stories. But the stakes are so high. Like I don't know, like the idea that they've all purposefully gotten themselves into this prison so that, like they can complete their like hitman job is so cool to me, because just imagining myself in that position gives me a mild heart attack. And I cannot wait to see what they do. And Gerard kills it with action. He really does. Like when he's got some good stuff going and it's a banging movie, he's amazing to watch.
It's been a while, but he's got it in him. He does.
He does.
He also did Gamer back in the day. That was all right. Jesse,
Rock and Roll.
Oh, Gamer.
Yeah, Rock and Roll. Oh my god,
hated that movie. Gamer.
Look, I'm not saying it was great. I'm just saying
that movie was trash. I was like,
was it fun? Was the action good?
Michael C. Hall, what are you doing in this movie? You're mate. You are better than this.
Actually, you're right. Michael C. Hall, he was making some choices in that movie. Actually, reminds me of remember Michael Keaton in Need for Speed? That's what it reminds me of. Just some guy behind a desk yelling out shit and being a weirdo.
Yes.
But what do you reckon this one did? Not besides Gamer.
It looks like fun. Yeah. Like it looks like one of those movies where you just you turn your brain off and you just have fun, enjoy it. I mean, I don't know. Like Gerard Butler did that. What was that one? It was Greenland. Where it was like, I think it was something to do with. I didn't see it, but it's like something to do with climate change, and everyone was like talking about it.
Oh, was that Geostorm?
Geostorm. Whatever. It was like, I can't remember what it was called. It was like one of those. I know it had something to do with the climate change or environment or something like that, and everyone was talking about it, but I haven't seen it. And then
it's Greenland. It's Greenland.
He's done a lot of. Greenland, yeah, it was Greenland, and
I haven't seen that one.
And then he's done a whole bunch of action stuff. I kind of think of him as like a poor man's Liam Neeson. and
Yeah,
he
I would say the same, but like Liam Neeson, like I love him, but he's not
the same
in the peak
in
of his
every
career.
single thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he
Well,
has some good.
didn't
He
he
has
want
some
to get
good
out of
stuff.
action films, or
No,
didn't
no.
Liam Neeson want to get out of action films?
Oh, yeah, he said recently, I think there was an interview where, like, you know, he knows he's getting up there in age and stuff, but he's done some decent stuff lately.
Yes.
Like, Non-Stop was all right. What was the one he did recently with...
The Marksman?
not that one.
Honest
Was
Thief.
recent.
Honest Thief.
Honest Thief, that's the one, yeah.
Yeah.
And he had a fight scene with, who was it? Was
Jai
it
Courtney.
Jai Courtney, yeah. I was going to say Channing Tatum. It's like, no, they couldn't afford Channing Tatum.
Jai Courtney.
Yeah. So, like, I feel like Liam Neeson, he's still got a few bangers in him, but I think Gerard Butler's just happy getting money from voicing How to Train Your Dragon these days.
Oh yeah, I forgot he did that.
But besides
That's
that, like, he's not in much big stuff. But I'm hoping...
My favorite.
Yeah, go on.
My favorite Gerard Butler. One of my favorite Gerard Butler performances, and this movie gets so much trash, but it is a bit of a guilty pleasure. Law-abiding citizen.
I that's not what I thought you were going to say. I thought you were going to say movie 43.
What I was going to say.
I thought you were going to say movie
No,
43.
no.
I
haven't seen. I haven't seen movie
I forgot
43.
about that. That's an interesting.
that
one.
Like
movie
law-abiding
is an
citizen,
experience.
it gets trashed and it has its problems, but for some reason I like him in
You
that
like
movie. I don't know why.
Dude,
He's just.
I
don't know. He does a lot of cool stuff. It's just like turn your brain off and just enjoy yourself,
Bro.
kind of thing. If you're into action, then
Law-Abiding Citizen was like the peak era of Gerard Butler films. That movie was freaking awesome. I had it on DVD back in the day. I just wish it didn't fall apart in the third act. Like the whole movie's like he's such a genius. He's everything planned out, and at the end it's like, oh well, he's sneaking out of his jail because of a manhole or some shit. It's like, oh, I wish I had that ending that justified the rest of the movie. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you a story though. I gotta be careful how I say this. So I'm going to leave out some details, but I remember when I was first, I was working on an indie short project as a soundie back in the day, just when I was just coming out of uni. And I worked this one film, and I hold up there, my arm's getting sore, and this guy, we're filming a scene, and it's like an interrogation scene, and this guy's yelling at a cop, and I'm just like, this dialogue sounds so familiar. What is it? And then like,
remember you telling me this?
Don't, if you know who I'm talking about, don't say it. But like, a few months later, I was watching that movie, Law-Abiding Citizen. I'll just get out of my seat, like,
Get out.
I know that, and this motherfucker just totally ripped out a monologue out of Law-Abiding Citizen and claimed that as his own. Oh god, that's probably not a story for the podcast, but fuck it, we'll leave it in.
That's wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Law-Abiding Citizen though, great movie. Fun fact: him and who was the other guy? Was it Jamie Foxx?
Jamie Foxx, yeah.
Yeah. Apparently they were meant to play different roles, and then like a few weeks before shooting, they swapped around.
They swapped him.
Yeah.
Interesting.
My
favorite Gerard movie is Phantom of the Opera. Just thought I'd throw that out there.
I have not seen that. Is that was a big hit back in the day, right?
Yeah, like they fully trained him to sing opera for that film because this was like before he was famous in any regard. He was like a no one still, and he had sang in like rock bands and pubs and stuff like that. So he had a voice, but they just like they knew he was perfect, and that's him like singing like an angel in that film.
I cannot imagine him singing opera. That is you're blowing my mind right now. That is crazy.
It's a very dark. It's one of my favorite musicals of all time because it is so dark and sad, but it's amazing.
Before we move on, I'm just gonna make an admission here, an admission of guilt. When I first watched this trailer, I thought to myself, oh, they're hiding a lot of the story. They keep showing a lot of stuff that takes place. I don't know, it didn't click in my head. It's like they really are showing a lot from this one scene, aren't they? And then the second we started talking and you were like, oh yeah, I like these movies where they take place like small location for the most of the film.
My god.
And that's what occurred to me. Oh yeah, it's about us being sieged. Of course, you fucking idiot, Matt.
Yeah.
Of course the locations are looking very similar.
Or maybe they have fooled us. Maybe it's actually, that's just like the
right.
opening.
I think you're right. Wow, we just
go on.
I
was just gonna say, does anyone remember who directs this again?
This is Joe Carnahan. I'm going to say. He directed the A-Team, which I hear was pretty
Yes,
good.
he did.
Also, Smokin' Aces, which is probably
Smoke and Aces was like his biggest thing, like as in like acclaimed thing.
Yeah,
18 was probably his biggest like mainstream release.
Yeah,
I did the Grey.
Oh, did he?
I like the Grey.
Yep.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
He's from what I can see here, he's more known for producing.
Yeah.
But like this guy's legit got some hits under his belt. So that's given me a little bit of hope for this as well. Because look, you've got two big action stars here, a director who knows what he's doing. This is a good mixture here. You got me curious now. I want to look up this writer. Oh, he hasn't done
I
much.
feel like it's going to be a very tight script, and I feel like there will probably be some really cool ending with a bit of a twist or something to it.
Look, it's I think it's they know what it is. It's not like a AAA blockbuster, but that doesn't mean it's not going to be good. Let's move on though to look, I'm going to be honest, I don't have a lot to say about this next one, but Dear Evan Hansen, which I believe is based off a big Tony Award winning musical.
Correct.
Adrianne, I know you're a little bit hyped for this. Yeah, lay it on me.
Yeah, we haven't had the musical come here yet, so unless like you can bootleg it or whatever, we just have to wait because Australia's always last when it comes to these humongous shows, which is really unfortunate because I do love musicals. But Dear Evan Hansen sort of like took Broadway by storm, and it originally was nominated for 9 Tonys, and it won 6 of them, including Best Actor, which is a really big deal. And it's just about like it also received a lot of acclaim because it tackled head on like youth suicide and mental health. And the Ben Platt from Pitch Perfect originated the role, and he's actually sort of come under fire for some nepotism because he got his dad to produce the movie and then cast him again in the lead role, even though he's 27 years old, not 16.
Right.
So
for those playing at home and had to open the dictionaries, nepotism is the practice among those with power or influence of favoring relatives or friends, especially by giving them jobs. So that's where my IQ level's at.
Yes. In a simpler term, like for example, if you're Jack Nicholson's son, i.e. Ray Nicholson, and all of a sudden in 2022 you have 8 huge mainstream movies coming out, that's something called nepotism. But then like, you know, if that was you, you'd still do the same thing. Right,
but so Ben was in the original musical, and he's playing the same character in the feature film adaptation.
Yes, for like the 7th time or something. And so people are just sort of like, oh, you got your dad to executive and produce this so that you could again be cast and potentially like win awards again. Like that's sort of like what's going on.
I feel like that's kind of like, that's not so bad though, right? Because he won, or he was nominated for awards as Best Actor. So you go, well, this guy did such a great job before. Like, he won a Tony Award. Yeah. Why not have him? Like,
I know. I don't see the issue. I mean, you can tell he's 27.
If you're in his shoes, wouldn't you do it? Or
I would like. I'd feel honored to like bring it to the screen and originate it there as well. I just thought it was interesting that people like that has been the main criticism surrounding the movie, not necessarily that it wasn't adapted the best, but like people are really focused on this for some reason. But I'm really keen to see it. The music is really great, and there's a lot of big actors in this too.
Yeah, what I will say...
I mean, here's the thing. There's a lot of nepotism in Hollywood.
Oh, yeah. It's like 80% of Hollywood.
Yeah, like, and the rest is egotism. It's nepotism followed by egotism.
This is correct.
I will say, I understand why, you know, your dad's producing, blah, blah. But, like, you mentioned... you touched on something which really stood out to me watching the trailer, and then I saw the comments on YouTube, and I've got to read this one comment which really stood out to me. It's like, it's amazing how they made him look 17 and 35 at the same time. Because look at this guy. He does not look like he's in high school. he is way too old to be in high school. This motherfucker,
Yeah.
it's like, you better be careful. Like, don't stand too close to those kids or some cops will be looking at you, mate.
God.
Like,
Oh my god.
There's a couple of shots where I'm like, he could probably pass, but then when he gets like really like close up on the camera, but there's a lot of actors that are in like their late 20s that have played.
They still play
you know,
high school, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
A friend
late
of
high
mine.
school or early 20s or whatever.
We've had 3 Spider-Mans, and only one of them looks like he could maybe be in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
like
true.
it's very common. I remember this I'll never forget this. As a kid, watching Power Rangers every day after school. They've got like mid-20s people playing high school characters. I'm like, oh wow, everybody's so tall. I remember when I got to year 12, and I'm just like, I look nothing like the guys from Power Rangers. They are so much older than me. And it wasn't until like year 12 it hit me. It's like, oh, they just casted adults to play kids. And as a kid, I just always assumed, oh, when I'm in like the senior year, I'll be that tall. I'll be that big. No. The motherfucker's got like beards and shit. Like, come on.
Once you reach like a particular age, it really stands out like a sore thumb. But then, like from an actor's POV, you understand that they do that because the emotional range and like intelligence might not be there if you actually cast according to the age of the character, which makes sense. But like he's very obviously not in high school, like you're anywhere near.
Matt, you know, high schools can get beards, right?
Oh yeah, that's true. Like I had one at one point, but yeah, like these guys.
I had a beard in high school.
Well, these guys have like mortgages and shit. So
True. Are you guys like into musicals at all? Like on any scale?
I've been on a journey over the last 5 years with a interesting relationship with musicals. I like them, but I find I'm only really entertained by musical comedy. The second you take the comedic aspect out, like I've been to a few musicals, like you and I with a few other friends saw Book of Mormon back in the day. That was amazing. That changed my life.
Good.
I saw.
I've acted with Josh Gad.
So
you
cool.
what? You went with what?
Oh, I don't know how much I could say about this. I did a TV thing with, and I was just like an extra, and I was next to Josh Gad. I told you about this.
Oh, I think I forgot about this a while ago. Is it out? Did that project come out?
No, it's coming out starting next year, I think, on Stan.
Very cool.
All right, well, when it does, on here all about it.
Yes.
Actually, Josh Gad, speaking of musicals, he's got a show on Apple TV Plus called Central Park. It's a cartoon musical. That's really great.
Okay.
I think about a few years ago, I saw Sweeney Todd. The musical live.
Todd.
But it was like, I love the movie, but like watching it live, that's when it really hit me. It's like, I thought I loved musicals, but I think I just love musical comedies. Like, that being said, I don't know. I like La La Land. That was great, but that's not a traditional musical.
I obviously haven't seen many. I wouldn't mind seeing more. But like when you say musical, do you mean like musical movies, or are you talking about musical
well, I guess
theater productions?
I guess in this regard, maybe like mostly screen. Like, do you ever go out of your way to watch any?
Look, I'm not gonna lie. When I saw Sweeney Todd, and when I first saw Sweeney Todd, I actually didn't know it was based on a musical. So when I was watching it, I was like,
it was random.
I was like, this is really cool. Like Johnny Depp's like,
Yeah.
cutting people's throats, and then they're making pies. But I'm like, I really hate this music. Like, just got to get rid of that music. Get that music out of there.
That's pretty funny.
Just the movie just going over your head. It's like, shut up and kill someone.
Like when it came out, like I was a kid, but like I had no idea it was like at the time it was based on a musical. So I was just like not enjoying. I was just like, I just want the story. I don't want this like.
That would have thrown you off completely.
It kind of did. So
what's really like helped convert me was realizing that a lot of my favorite comedy TV shows have musical moments. Like all the best episodes of Simpsons, most of them have a musical number in it, and they're all fucking amazing. We could quote probably 10 of them right now. I know you could, Jesse. You definitely could. You love The Simpsons. The South Park movie is a musical. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts around it. It is 100% a musical, and their first movie was called Cannibal the Musical, which I tried to watch recently. It was not good. There are so many My favorite episode of Scrubs is the musical episode. The 100th episode of How I Met Your Mother, musical episode. There's an amazing musical episode of Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I could go on. Like, a lot of my favorite episodes are comedy shows. For some reason, I'm in the musical one. So that's why I say I love musical comedy. Like, I think that's where I'm coming from a lot. So many great stuff, though.
You know that the South Park, like, they were nominated for an Academy Award for Best Original Song, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. It was for Blame Canada from the movie.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
they couldn't believe that they got nominated, so they went.
They're amazing. Yeah,
in dresses, high on LSD.
That's right.
And they had a game that if anyone asked them like what they were wearing or why they're dressed, they would only reply with, "It's just such a beautiful night." And so they always interviews of them just dressed in like these beautiful, gorgeous gowns. And they're like, "Why are you wearing a dress?" And it's like, "It's just a beautiful night. You know, everyone here is so great."
Yeah.
Oh, they're so funny. Those fucking idiots. I love them.
Amazing songwriters too. Like, they're just so good at it.
Yeah. Recently, they were dealed, I think it was for like, it was like, I know they got a lot of millions of dollars. Paramount Plus penned some deal with them. They're going to bring, I think it's like 5 South Park movies or something to Paramount Plus. And,
wow.
And a bunch, like they got renewed to like season 30, which is like another.
Yep.
Wow.
Like Paramount Plus just threw bajillions of dollars at them. Like, just keep doing what you're doing. Just make it exclusive for our platform. Which is really converting me. But between that and the new season of Dexter coming out in Paramount Plus, like...
Oh, I'm so keen for that.
Yeah, second that comes out...
I've never watched Dexter.
Do it.
I know I should. I know.
You're missing out on 4 amazing seasons. And there are no more seasons. Yeah.
I hear this a lot, and that's why I haven't started, because I'm scared it's going to hurt me.
Look, it's...
I'll say this about Dexter. I'll say this. 5 to 7, while they're not great, I can still enjoy them.
Okay.
8, it's sort of like Game of Thrones.
Game of
8.
Thrones.
We'll just...
They season 8'd themselves.
I actually will defend season 5 of Dexter is actually pretty good, and they thematically touch on some cool stuff. But season 7 and 6 and 7, two seasons towards the end literally end on the same cliffhanger, and it's just like, and they don't really pay it off until season 8. Season 8's the one with Deborah Knows, right? With the
You're going to spoil it for Adrianne. You're going to spoil it for Adrianne.
She won't know who Deborah is. She doesn't know who that is. You know what? We're going to do a Dexter episode, you and me. I could do a deep dive.
I just want to say this. Like, in Dexter's defense, in the showrunner's defense, how could you top season 4?
You can't. Really. Like, thematically...
You could not top season 4. That was like
season
the
4,
television show at the time.
They peaked too early or something?
Look, I'll fill it in for you, Adrianne, without spoiling anything.
Okay.
The whole show changes because a character goes away, which is an amazing twist. You don't know what's going to happen. But so it ends on like the highest note you could imagine. That changes the whole dynamic of the show. But in addition to that, he spends 4 seasons battling with the idea of how can I be a serial killer and have a normal life. And he meets someone who's been doing it for 30 years, who's played an incredible performance by Third Rock from the Sun guy.
John Lithgow.
John Lithgow. In a like a fucking incredible performance, John Lithgow. And
I remember he won like a bunch of Emmys for this or something.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
It was like, at the time, I don't think anyone had seen him do anything dramatic. So it was just such a
and he was really scary,
change.
apparently. Yeah.
He was terrifying. But like the themes, it was such a perfect way to like end a show. 'Cause it's all about him juggling with, this guy has done everything I ever want to do. I want to learn from him.
Yeah.
But then they have this amazing rivalry, and it's amazing. And I think the final season, the first half of it, they had this really cool idea of, they meet this woman from his backstory where it's like, I created the rules your father taught you by. And I think that was such a great concept for the final season. And then halfway through, they shit the bed, which is just depressing.
Yeah.
But look, I can talk about Dexter forever. Let's put in the books. We've got to do a Dexter episode. Let's move on, because we are so off topic. Off topic.
We went from musicals to murders in like 5 minutes. Yes.
Look, we got one left, and this is a big one because, ladies and gentlemen, you know, I am a big Marvel boy. I'm a Marvel boy, and this one was filmed in my hometown, or at least a large part of it. But we can't see it here in Australia. In fact, it's already come out. It's already technically saved the cinema industry. It's revitalized the box office. I did better than expected after COVID, and now it did so well. Venom moved up its release date as a response to it. Shang-Chi, Legend of the Ten Rings. So excited for it. I could talk about it forever, but I'm going to give some other people a chance to talk. I'll go to Adrianne as Jesse. Spoiler alert, isn't the biggest Marvel guy, but that's okay. It's good to get an outside perspective. Adi, what are your expectations from Shang-Chi, besides knowing that the reviews say it's amazing?
Yes. It doesn't matter what happens, my expectation is always going to be high. And it's not even that it's been overhyped. Like, I just love Marvel like you do. I'm a Marvel girl. I'm a big Marvel girl. I will watch every single one. I've rewatched it in cinematic release because that's how you should. But anyway, no, I'm really excited. I love that. I love the whole cast, and Awkwafina being in it just makes me want to watch it 50 times more because I love her and I love everything that she touches. And Ronnie Cheng as well. Oh my God, he just cracks me up in everything. I don't even know I'm excited about the entire thing.
Let me give you guys some jumping off points. Okay, so first of all, Simu Liu, I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Mm-hmm. Looks like he's perfect. Like, he was born to play a role like this. He is just from interviews and stuff, he seems so charismatic. He has this very Marvel-y charisma about him.
He does.
I'm loving that. I think putting Awkwafina as like some sidekick comedy character makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of, I don't want to get too much into it, but there's a lot of controversy right now about black scent. But
I heard about this.
They say her criticism is whenever she's doing comedy, she acts black, and she's an Asian woman.
It's just Awkwafina.
But like, her whole career, she's clearly had this big hip hop influence. She's from New York, which is like the capital of hip hop, pretty much. I don't see a personal problem with it, but obviously I'm not black or Asian, so I probably don't have a voice or anything in this fight. Just be funny and I'll be okay with it. But look, I'm really excited about this. There's so many things I want to know. First of all, Wong from Doctor Strange is in this. What does he play? He fights the Abomination. What is going on there? We haven't seen him since The Incredible Hulk, which is the first Marvel film. That I'm stoked for because he was such a great villain, and hearing that he's going to be in the She-Hulk Disney Plus series, excited for that. I keep hearing that the end credit scene is incredible. I have tried so fucking hard to avoid spoilers. It is so hard to avoid spoilers for a Marvel.
I scroll away.
It's so hard. My girlfriend not in this world, right? But I'll tell her, like, babe, you don't understand. I have to see it the microsecond it comes out because I watch so much shit on YouTube that there's a split-second chance it could be ruined for me.
You might. Oh, no.
If it got ruined, I would have nightmares. And I know I seem like an idiot because I am an idiot. But it's like, it's this. And like, it was a Marvel movie filmed in my backyard. I know people who worked. I know someone who I will not out on this show who. Shouldn't say too much. But I know someone who's in a fight scene. And I'm so happy for this person. Like, there are, so actually, you know what? I'll tell you something cool. Actual story. I can't tell this one. His name, Florian, what's his name? Florian, the bad guy from Creed 2. Looking for his name. I think his name's Florian something. He plays a villain in this named Razor. I know he's a C-list villain, but he's got pretty much a sword for a hand, right? He stayed at my girlfriend's roommate at the time's hotel. And one day she calls me and she's like, hey, do you know this actor's name? And I'm like, Google him, like, the bad guy from Creed 2. It's like, yeah, he's in town filming, I think, a Marvel thing. And I'm like, what? I Googled him, like, he's a bad guy. You're telling us. And like, meanwhile, time, like, Zohab's like he loves those Creed movies. And I called him up. I'm like, oh, the bad guy from Creed 2. Ivan Drago's son. Oh my God. And then I just call her up. I'm like, you got to ask her to be on my podcast. And it's like, okay. Yeah. And she awkwardly went up to him, had a drink, and chickened out because obviously you don't meet someone and say, hey, will you be on my boyfriend's podcast?
Yeah.
But that was a pretty cool moment.
That's awesome.
Where
I remember they were filming. I think it was around about midway last year because I got put forward for something for it. It was just like I think it was just like an extra thing, but I wasn't able to make it. But it would be really cool to see like all the again like all the locations they use and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like even though I'm not the biggest superhero fanatic, it'd be really cool to just see where they've transformed and shot different scenes. Like that they've transformed into San Francisco, or wherever it's taken place.
Actually, you know what? You know who was on it that I know both you guys know. The listeners won't. But our old friend Chris Collins from UWS.
Really?
He was a data wrangler on that. And I remember he texted me one day. It's like, bro, I wish you were here. You would be so happy. Like this. It's like you didn't say this, I'm paraphrasing, but he's basically was like, I know I'm living your dream right now. Like he's like, he was just like, I gotta get you on his. I'm like, get me on there somehow. I don't care. I'll carry someone's water or some shit.
I think I remember you mentioning that.
Yeah, I'm very jealous. I'm very mad because he's like you, Jesse. He's like, oh, cool, they're flying. I'm like, no, in issue 346 of what it because I grew up on the comics, ladies and gentlemen. You understand, my first comic was Vision from the Avengers fighting Carnage. And so when I first saw Age of Ultron in theaters, I saw it with a group of friends, and I didn't know Vision was going to be in the movie. I hadn't seen the third trailer because I was avoiding trailers. When Vision came on screens, he was in the first comic I ever bought my own hard-earned money. And I remember my friend Jai sitting down the row because there's a bunch of us. He leans over and goes, Matt, who the fuck is that? And I'm like, oh, it's my childhood! Like, because I love those movies. Oh man, editing this podcast is gonna be a bitch. I've been way too loud. It's what Marvel does to me. I get too excited.
It's true. I think it's gonna obliterate all expectation and just over deliver. I think it's gonna be really great.
Look,
I think it's gonna be funny.
I'll say some actual words of value because I feel like most of the stuff has been incoherent rambling. Look, I think the way that they are taking Hong Kong style martial arts, they're filming them really. It's not like Iron Fist levels. It's like actual good choreography with amazing camera work, but they're innovating on it by using CGI and your typical Marvel tricks to elevate that in ways I honestly don't think I've seen before. Like they're doing some of this Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon type wire work, but like when I see a movie like that, I often am a little bit disconnected because it doesn't feel real. But the way they're using CGI and the effects, it's like next level. I've never seen it done like that. So I think the mixture of choreography and cinematography here is actually going to be pretty unique for martial arts. Another thing is I love how I feel like Shang-Chi taking. Well, this is what I want. This is what I hope. I don't know if they're actually doing this fully, but the way that they have the ability to incorporate like Chinese mythology and traditions in a sci-fi setting, the way Black Panther did, that's really exciting because that's what made Black Panther so interesting. It wasn't your typical sci-fi film because it took influences from these very cultural things that was very unique. A lot of sci-fi movies, they're trying to be The Matrix, they're trying to be Star Wars.
Yes.
But something like Black Panther is like, look, let's take a bunch of like traditional African themes and stuff and, put lasers in there and shit. And I think they have the same opportunity to do it here. It might be more fantasy than sci-fi though, but either way, I'm very excited. I know Shang-Chi, they have a lot of intention on using him going forward. In the world,
it's done well. The box office, hasn't it? I think in America, it's been doing decently well, hasn't it?
It did better than expected.
From what I've seen,
which is like gave a lot of like faith, but this could backfire actually because I was watching a really great YouTuber. I highly recommend if anyone wants to know about box office stuff. The John Champier show. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Champier, I think it is. I saw him do a video the other day talking about a bit of controversy because the lead actor in an interview many, many years ago did something that
Yes, I saw this.
China didn't like or something. And
he
I
made a
think
comment on communism and how he did not like it.
That's right. You know, very reminiscent of, I think, the John Cena situation with Suicide Squad. But I think for a company like Disney, the reason why this is particularly problematic is...
But is that just because it's a big box office in China, or...
Well, yeah, I
like
think
that... numbers in China, or...
Like, so nothing at the time of recording, China hasn't said, no, we won't show the movie. But there's a chance that they could... as a reaction to that.
I remember John Cena did, like, when John Cena did that, he like just flipped around like instantly and was just like, oh yeah, no, I'm sorry.
He didn't just say sorry. He said sorry in Chinese, like in Mandarin. He like learned, and he said it so authentically. Like he clearly had like a coach or something. Like it was like he's speaking Mandarin his whole life. Like it was amazing how well he did it.
What happened was like, I was gonna say I checked on this the other day, and Lou came out and made a huge statement about it, about how that was like a long time ago, and well, because like it's such a big... China is a huge deal. Like a lot of movies that bomb in the States actually a lot of the time end up making like $350 million in China.
Yeah, a great example of that, Terminator Genesis. Did terrible here, went bonkers good over there. I think that's the reason why we got Terminator Dark Fate so quickly, because of China, the Chinese market.
Exactly. So like they have to turn around and fix it immediately. Plus, I'm pretty sure in his contract there would be like 20 pages dedicated to this is what you can and can't say, and this is what you have to do because of that market. But he's like, I don't think they're going to pull it. I think it will still be fine over there.
Well, the thing with, with this channel I was looking at before was saying, so with the Chinese market, they only allow, I think, a max of like 10 movies, foreign movies in per year. Like they have a restriction. It was a big deal a few years ago when they expanded it. I think it was 5 and they moved it to 10. Maybe it's 15, something like that. And so obviously I think no one's talking, like they don't talk about it, but I think it's kind of implied. One of the reasons why Shang-Chi was fast-tracked, which it kind of was, I think, as a reaction to Crazy Rich Asians. This was on their list for ages. Apparently at one point they wanted it in phase 1. But one of the reasons why they fast-tracked it, I think, is because of the Chinese market. They're like, can we give them a Chinese superhero? It'll do really well there, blah, blah, all that stuff. This is an assumption, but I think it's a pretty safe assumption. So I think they make this with the assumption that this will do really well over there. So now if they have an actor that they don't like, this could mean a lot of implications. They may recast him in the future. Maybe they don't have him join the Avengers because they want the Avenger movies to do over there. I'm sure they'll all work everything out. Disney have a lot of fat pockets. But I think also one of the big themes of this movie is about the Asian American experience of like trying to live up to your parents' expectations and setting your own path. But I don't know if that's going to fit in with the beliefs of the Chinese market, you know? The communist government are very big on follow things. So big to a point that apparently when Disney released Mulan, they actually released it with alternate scenes where they sort of changed the moral of the story. Yeah. Because I think the Mulan we got here, a big asterisk next to everything they say.
They shot that in China.
Did they?
But you got to like, they shot a lot of Mulan in China from memory, and like the thing is like a lot of these like Hollywood production companies, your hands kind of tied because I mean there's a big market, like obviously a lot of people in China, and it's a big market, and it's like, well, do we just not say anything about the government there and the stuff that's happening there, or do you, do you know what I mean? Like your hands kind of tied. So
it's a very
from
touchy subject, yeah.
So
I think, I know from my understanding, so with Milan, they literally changed it for that. Another great example, this is from way back though, is Iron Man 3. They didn't change the movie. Well, they kind of did. They added extra scenes so it would do better there. So they got a really famous Chinese actor and he plays a character who is the doctor that operates in Tony Stark's heart. And he has like I think 3 extra scenes in China, in the Chinese version, and they put his face front and center, I think, on a lot of the posters and advertising as a way to appeal, which is very different. Like there's no political reasons for that. It's strictly financial. It's like they want them to appeal. Like there was a similar thing with like Star Wars in Japan. What's his name? The guy who plays Finn, he was a lot smaller on the posters because they thought racially that wouldn't play very well in Japan, which is a whole other bag of controversial worms to open. But they're like, Japan likes robots, put the robots real big on the poster, Look, at the end of the day, I don't give a shit about any of that stuff, man. I just want to see a good movie. Sorry, I do give a shit. Sorry, I should say, but at the end of the day, I want to see cool explosions. That's what I'm in for.
And fight sequences.
I read
that Shang-Chi is based on Bruce Lee originally, and I thought that was really cool.
Wow.
Yeah, so I think they're really going to take a lot of care with the martial arts here.
I won't get too much into it because I will nerd out forever, because I've watched a million YouTube videos on it. But yeah, there was a big moment in comics, I think around the 70s, when Bruce Lee blew up and martial arts got real big. Shang-Chi was created as a reaction to that. Same with the character Iron Fist, who's had his own Netflix show. But there was also some like weird like racial stereotypes and stuff. They've really updated from here. I'll also say I've listened to the soundtrack and it's very good. A lot of bangers with rappers like Lil Brian, Rich Brian.
Lil someone. There's a chance.
It's always Lil someone. Yeah. But there was some bangers in that. I checked the playlist out on Spotify. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for us today. Obviously, we are better at covering movies than we are politics, but
that is correct.
Speak for yourself, Matt.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, I speak for myself. I speak too much, that's for sure. But we hope you guys had a good time with us today, as well as myself. This is a test episode. I hope it sees the light of day. This is the part where I would plug the socials, but I'm still getting used to them. I think if you guys want to follow us, please do. We're on Facebook. It is facebook.com/upcoming attractions podcast. Oh God, I wish I knew that. It's Upcoming Attractions on Facebook. On Instagram, it's the same and all that stuff. Follow us on TikTok for some highlights. And I'll get better at the plugs, I guess. It's a whole new podcast. Give us some slack. It's a work in progress. We're working on ourselves here. But most of all, we're getting there. We're getting there, ladies and gentlemen. But if you want to help out the show, it's completely free. We've worked really hard here. But if you want to help us out, you want to help spread the word, we'd appreciate that. But the best thing you can do for us is give us a review on iTunes. 5 stars, we're feeling generous. Or maybe even subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. I'm gonna get the outros right at some point. We'll get there. Anyways, that's all for us today. Thanks for joining us. How should I do an outro? We gotta figure this out. I'm Matt. That's Adrianne and Jesse. I'll find a way.
Comment.
Yeah. Look, guys. Like I said, test episode. We will nail this process down. But for now, thanks for hanging out with us. We'll see you next time. Laters.
See you, dudes.